Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. We will be starting in just 2 minutes. We're just waiting for the final people to join. Okay, looks like everyone now has joined from the waiting room. So first of all, hello everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar. Today we're going to be discussing about how no code in the cloud is disrupting traditional GIS. Just before we get started, I just wanted to go through a little bit of housekeeping. So first off, my name's Nigel Lester. I'm from the Spatial Distillery company. I'll be your moderator and also co-presenter today for today's session. I'm really excited to also be joined by Miguel Marquez from Mapidea. So Miguel's actually joining us all the way from Portugal this morning in Australia, and actually very early morning in Portugal. Hello, Miguel, how are you going?
Hi, Nigel. Hi, everyone.
So just before we kick off, let me just do a little bit of housekeeping. The slides from today's presentation, we'll send out an email following the presentation webinar today, so you'll get a copy of the slides. We're also going to be recording the session, and we'll send out some links to that if you want to share that recording with anyone from your organization that maybe hasn't been able to attend. We are going to have the opportunity for some Q&A at the end of the presentation today. But while we're going through, feel free to go into the Q&A box and enter any questions. We'll compile those throughout the meeting today and then try and answer those off at the end of the presentation. Any that we can't get to, we'll definitely get back to you individually if there's anything we don't get time to cover off today. So just to introduce Miguel and myself a little bit more. As mentioned, my name's Nigel Lester. I'm the CEO and founder of the Spatial Distillery company. We're a boutique location intelligence software and geospatial data provider. We're headquartered out of Melbourne, Australia. I know we've got a lot of predominantly Australian people on the call, but we've got a few internationals. We're headquartered out of Melbourne, but with staff across Australia. I'd also like to introduce again Miguel Marquez from Mapidea. Miguel's the founder and CEO of Mapidea. Miguel is a geographer and GIS specialist with over 20 years experience in geospatial and location intelligence. So we're really excited to have get Miguel's input into the session today. And Miguel's also a guest geomarketing lecturer at the University of Lisbon. So lots of deep experience in how business organizations, government organizations leverage location intelligence to improve business outcomes. So we're going to learn a little bit more about Mapidea and how the Mapidea platform is disrupting traditional GIS with no code and cloud. And Miguel's going to demonstrate that a little bit later on. But I think one of the great things around how technology is changing so rapidly and we're able to take advantage of these new types of cloud-based technologies is that this is actually democratizing GIS, and the philosophy that Miguel will talk a little bit more around Mapidea is making geospatial analytics accessible to a large number of people, and really taking GIS out of the back room and out of the silos where it's locked away in many organizations currently. So we'll talk about that a little bit more during today's presentation. So more than ever, I think what we're seeing is organizations embracing location intelligence and geospatial analytics. You know, if you think about how things have changed over the last 10, 15 years, you know, you look at how we use location in our everyday lives. Smartphone penetration rates in Australia is, you know, reaching over 80% sort of penetration. We're used to every day, if we're trying to find a new store or find directions to our new friend's house, for example, we use our smart devices. So the proliferation of those smart devices, proliferation of different technologies like RFIDs, beacons, the use of GPS and the Internet of Things is really expanding the amount of location data that's being captured by businesses. And it's really a fast growing component of all business data. So this can be, you know, sometimes people will see this as a challenge. You know, the amount of data that we're capturing is becoming more complex, but I think when you think about location, and I know we've got a lot of location specialists and GIS people on the call today, if you think about it, location really has the power, I believe, to bring order to that complex big data problem we have. But how do you analyze that information quickly and efficiently? And this is where cloud and no-code solutions really come into their forte, and why the interest in those type of solutions is really growing rapidly. I think that strength of that location information that businesses are capturing is really that it becomes that common link between seemingly disconnected silos of data. So things that maybe don't have an obvious relationship. For example, you might have your clients' locations or the customers' locations that you're delivering to if you're in a delivery business, and your competitors' locations. Maybe they're not instantly recognizable about the relationships in those different data sets. But when you start to geo-enrich them, you start to find out relationships that begin to emerge, and you're able to build a more holistic view of your customers and of your business as a whole. So I think we as, I guess, geospatial experts and geospatial professionals can now take advantage of new technology like cloud and easy to configure no-code solutions to get that information out and share it more effectively inside our organizations. So for all organizations, regardless of if you're a commercial organization, a financial services organization, or a government entity, companies, public and government organizations have multiple challenges these days. They're really needing to provide more personalized customer experience, making sure that we're providing compelling reasons for customers and citizens to use our products and services. But at the same time, we're under increasing pressure to reduce costs. Budgets are getting squeezed. We need to deliver more with less. And one of the exciting things is that we have accelerating advances in technology, enabling technology, things like improved telecommunications, AI, machine learning, advanced analytics on big data, mobility solutions, and also one of the real enabling technologies that we've seen emerge over the last decade, really, but really in the last 5 years really come to its fore, is cloud-based solutions and cloud-based infrastructure. This really offers new opportunities for us in the GIS world to take advantage of that technology. And I think if you think about it, some of the leading solution areas have come before geospatial, and we may have traditionally done things more on the desktop. However, the opportunity there now is cloud technology and telecommunications and connectivity is improved to take advantage of these cloud type technologies. So there was a study that was done, a great study. You can find this online. It's from the Dresler Advisory Services, but they did a really good recent study into location intelligence. And in particular, there was a part of that study talked about location intelligence use cases. And still, one of the major use cases, because of this proliferation of spatial data, is still the growth in visualization. And so that over 70% of organizations, are considering that visualization and location intelligence is critical or very important to accomplishing their company goals. So, okay, that's great. Organizations are realizing that location intelligence is critical to their success, but how do we take advantage of that as a business and be able to accelerate the use of location analysis and technology within a business? So just to break things up a bit, we're going to run a couple of polls. So let's see if this works. This is a first poll question that I'm going to launch for you guys. Let me just see. Okay, hopefully you're now seeing a poll pop up on your screen. So take a second. What I wanted to do is just ask a question is, how far along is your organization in your cloud implementation strategy? We're seeing this grow and expand, and different organizations are at different stages of their journey. Some of their solutions have already gone cloud. You may be running CRM or other Microsoft applications in the cloud. but you know, each organization in there, I guess, maturity moves at a different pace. And so it's some fantastic feedback coming in there. That's great. Interesting, great, great feedback there. Let me just see if I can share these results with you all. Great thing is, you know, hey, everyone's planning to move to the cloud. So no one said there's no plans to move to the cloud. I think that's fantastic. I'm sure you'll agree, Miguel. I think that's the way that business is going. You know, some organizations seems to be split pretty evenly, right? We've got a third of people are saying that they've already moved applications. A third are kind of saying, look, they're determining which applications are moving, and some are maybe just in the beginning and they're assessing the need and the strategy that we're going to, of what applications and how we're going to go about leveraging the cloud. So I think that's really interesting and kind of similar to sort of what we're seeing out there in industry at those different levels of maturity in moving the cloud. But it's exciting that everyone is at least on that journey now.
Very, Nigel, very. Zero answers or no plans to move to the cloud is great to see, yeah.
Yeah. And I think it would be interesting, Miguel, I think if we asked that question, you know, maybe 5 years back, it would probably be a totally different answer, right? It has really accelerating at the moment.
Exactly. Not a doubt.
So I'll just stop sharing that and let me continue on here. So, on here. Yeah, so let me just go to the next slide. Yep. Okay, so, you know, sounds like most people are thinking about or on their journey to moving to cloud. And, you know, cloud, like many other applications in business, you know, can benefit location intelligence deployments as well. And you're seeing more and more vendors start to embrace the cloud. But, you know, what are the major reasons that organizations move to the cloud, and why is it important for our location intelligence platforms and solutions to do that as well? Well, these are really the key benefits. So reduced investment costs, right, which is a really important one. You know, if you're using a cloud GIS, it can drastically reduce your upfront investment costs. You know, there's no need to buy servers. There's no need to worry about, you know, you can scale your storage really quickly and easily. You don't have to buy those perpetual software licenses, right, which can have a high upfront cost. And one of the other things that organizations find when they move to the cloud is a much quicker payback, because typically, and I know this is the fact with Mapidea, Miguel, you know, a cloud instance of that can be up and running in literally, you know, minutes, right? And a new instance can be spun up of a platform, and the organization can really start to benefit really quickly from that quick rollout and implementation time. And it gives a lot of cost savings and potentially new revenue streams for organizations, where they can actually start to now more broadly deploy location intelligence solutions across the enterprise that helps more people inside the business take advantage of location data and location analysis, which is kind of really exciting. Some of the other areas are obviously operational costs. You know, if we're talking on the cost side of things, really comes down because software upgrades are seamless. Those things get taken care of. Basically, your infrastructure maintenance costs go away, and you know, all of those software updates are taken care of. Availability and accessibility is another real key benefit of cloud and no-code location intelligence solutions. So, you know, cloud services, they're available anywhere, anytime. Pretty much from any device as well. So it takes away that, whether you're working in the field, the way we work now, if you're working at home, it makes it so easy for your workforce to be able to move from different platforms and different devices and still be able to get their job done. Accessibility is another thing. You know, I think historically, desktop or internal server-based location intelligence GIS deployments tend to be less accessible to their organization, and having things hosted in the cloud available through a portal so data and information can be easily found and used and shared is another real key benefit. The other thing, which, and I know that Mapidea takes advantage of, is the massive scalability of cloud infrastructure. So as the complexity of analyzing and doing spatial analytics goes, when you've got your running these applications platforms up in the cloud, that is scalable, right? So those complex spatial applications, you can push that effort out into the cloud, handle massive amounts of data, so that workflows can be more intuitive, and people in the organization start to really feel empowered by being able to use GIS or location intelligence as a self-service tool, rather than something that's really needs a specialist to be able to drive. So although there's a lot of benefits, there's also some misconceptions, right, around cloud. And I think looking at the poll results that we had earlier, Miguel, probably most people have overcome these misconceptions, but there are still out there. And if you're looking at adopting cloud-based location intelligence solutions, these are maybe some of the things that you may hear people in your organization object around. Hey, what about security? Right? Okay. We do hear about breaches and security breaches in some cloud-based solutions. It has happened, but they're becoming less and less. Typically the cloud providers and providers like Mapidea now use very high security standards and very stringent ways of protecting information in the cloud. It actually makes, most cloud deployments now are actually more have better security and higher protection than even on-premise deployments. So I think that security one is kind of an old argument from people for being worried about deploying into the cloud. In the past, there used to be issues around performance. Hey, maybe our internet's not good enough. Well, hey, in Australia, I know we've brought up the NBN. Everyone will have their opinion about the connectivity and speed of the NBN. But however, you know what? It's gone leaps and bounds, and now we all find that we can work from home pretty efficiently, pretty much work anywhere, and the speed of old ADSL and dial-up type internet problems aren't there anymore. So again, lots of advances there in terms of making cloud more accessible. And then, people worry about costs and fees and having an annual fee. Well, yes, there are annual fees with cloud applications, but you don't have those high upfront licensing costs. One of the things as well is if you go and invest and procure an asset, a piece of software or hardware to install that piece of software on, quite often, with the speed of the way technology is moving, within 1 to 3 years, that can really become obsolete or out of date. And this can be, particularly true if you don't have budgets to maintain that as well. So that cost is less of an issue. I think now and the final point I wanted to make was around control. In the past, I think people saw cloud architectures as a bit of a black box, and that integration with legacy applications and other cloud platforms in the past was a little bit cumbersome, but that's really changed. The days of extensive customizations and that are difficult to maintain are really over. Being able to configure out of the box solutions and make and integrate your internal applications, cloud-based applications, and your data with applications, especially like you'll see with Mapidea, makes integration easy. So that black box approach isn't really there anymore. And I guess no code's been one of the key things in just simplifying that, whole way that people interact with these applications. So just before I hand over to Miguel, and Miguel talks a little bit about how the philosophy and how his company has developed a no-code cloud-based platform for, in particular, location analytics. I'm just going to launch another poll question here, break things up a little bit. Let me see here. Poll. We've got a second question, just around some of those obstacles. Take a look at this. what were some of the obstacles? Maybe you've already overcome some of these obstacles, but maybe you can just, if you can see the poll there, let us know what were some of the obstacles that you actually had in adopting the cloud. Hopefully you can see the poll there. Can everyone see the poll still? I'm not sure what's happening there. Hopefully you can all hear me. Miguel, are you still there?
Yeah, the poll is running.
Okay, fantastic. See, but let me just say, let me just try and I'm just going to relaunch that.
Oh, it's giving an error on the poll.
Here we go. Now it's working.
Yeah.
It just locked up there for a second. We're getting those poll results coming through. Let me just. Fantastic. It's great. We've got a lot of participants on the call today, so it's awesome that so many people have been able to join us. Okay, let me just end it there. Looks like most results are in. I'll share the results. So, yeah, you know, it's kind of a mixed bag there, Miguel. What are your thoughts? You know, it's there has been obviously, those are fairly common, I guess, those reasons why people have had maybe concerns around adopting the cloud and some of the obstacles they've had to overcome.
Yeah, especially interesting that a lot of people are concerned about the integration. That is a sign that everyone is on board with the cloud, because that is the gate question, let's call it this way, and not so much on the security concerns. And Mapidea is 7 years old, and when we started, that was a question every time we show Mapidea, every time we have a deal, was the security. Nowadays, not so much. So it's rare. It's rare to ask about security.
Yeah, right, great. Thanks, Miguel. I'm just going to stop sharing there and let me just go back to the slides. And Miguel, let me hand over to you now. Hey, tell us a little bit about the sort of no code and cloud journey for Mapidea and what it's all about.
Yeah. Thanks, Nigel. Well, Mapidea was born in the cloud generation, let's say, but was created to build a bridge between traditional GIS, very powerful, very good. I think it will not go away. It's very important to have that expertise, but to connect that expertise with the business stakeholders and the political decision makers. So people that don't have, typically they don't use a GIS. In fact, some of our customers don't even know what GIS stands for. So they don't know the words. And we created an application that is, because it's cloud, so it's very easy to deploy. You can start using from day one. And the focus is simplicity and speed. So it's something that with half an hour or 15 minutes conversation, a user can start doing analysis on their own. And the idea is that with the cloud investment, with all the migration of the technology to the cloud and all those processes, organizations can see results very, very fast. So our 3 key points are, so it's no code. So you don't need to have expertise on Python or other languages to deploy Mapidea. It's very time saving. You'll be saving time for your GIS experts to do more challenging tasks. And it's very easy to integrate data from different formats. Next slide, please, Nigel. Yeah, so these are some examples of our customers from different sectors, different geographies, a little bit spread across the world. And what's interesting is that all these customers have a standard deploy of Mapidea. So they are using the application out of the gate without any code, any custom development. Now let's see some examples of use of Mapidea live. So let me share the screen.
Right. I'll take over control, Miguel, and
yeah, thanks. So I'll be logging in Mapidea.
Yeah. You can see your screen now, Miguel.
Yeah,
that's good.
Perfect. So let's give some examples where the time is being saved, and because on being on the cloud environment, it's easy to access anytime, anywhere, and reply to very concrete questions. So we have something prepared here from Melbourne, for example. Let's say, okay, this is customers. These are a layer of customers. You have information about fictional data, obviously, about the customers, and you want to know the marketing from a fast food chain wants to know the customers that live nearby their locations. Instead of asking this by email to a GIS person to do on a desktop GIS, you can simply one click, filter, and everything is drag and drop. So, okay, I want the customers that relating to this fast food are near or away. So we try to humanize the language every time it's possible. So we want the customers up to 300 meters, but at the same time, we only want customers that have the mobile app. So we can compose very complex expressions just by dragging and dropping the elements. Press apply, and you see the results of the map. So you are seeing the customers. You can see also in a tabular format, and the punchline is here. The saving time is here. Instead of receiving this on an email, the marketing person, the salesperson can simply export these results to an Excel. So the data is available to use and not have a middle conversation sometimes that will get lost in translation what really needs. And you can also go back and fine tune. So I can, for example, understand at a glance where they are more concentrated, or if I think that this is too much or too few, I can simply again go back and just change the parameters. So now instead of 300, I want 500 meters, press apply, and I see the results on the map changing. And again, I can export the data without an email sent between the GIS department and the users.
So Miguel, you used a word, you said humanizing the language, right? So I think, part of it earlier on, you mentioned about the philosophies of simplicity. So what was that in, I guess, humanizing GIS, right? Maybe explain on that for us a little bit more.
Yeah, we as geographers, as GIS persons, talk a lot among ourselves. So we get each other. But when we are talking with someone that doesn't have a spatial awareness or spatial expertise, some technical relations are not so obvious. So we try to make them obvious. So the same goes here. For example, let's give another example. So let's use these areas. Let's pretend these are telecom areas with information from telecom. And I just want to select, for example, a business question that's nothing to do with geography. I want the areas where the drop calls have increased from one day to another. That is something that a person can do in Excel. So a filter, a pivot table or something. One click, filter. I want the drop calls from the current period higher than the drop calls from the previous period. And when I hit apply, I'm translating this question, a business question, into a geographic representation. And the user gets it because it was the user to do it. So he didn't ask anyone to do this. And this is very important, the ownership. We used to say that to use Mapidea is kind of meeting the user halfway. So he learns a little bit about layers, he learns a little bit about relations, but on a natural way. It's like getting the technology out of the way. So and let the data speaks for itself.
Yeah.
Let me give you another example. So let's say that, for example, we have a list of properties that the real estate company gave us. We want to open more stores or more restaurants, and we have here a list with data. Again, fictional data, but we have information. And I want to evaluate these locations. I can simply drag and drop this Excel to Mapidea. Again, no need that expertise of coordinate systems. No, I just drag and drop the Excel with the coordinates. Now, each of these locations is a restaurant with information. And now what I want is very quickly to know how many customers do I have within 15 minutes walking time from these new locations. One click, 2 clicks for the proximity. Let's select walking time, 15 minutes, and we are creating the drive times on the fly. So each of these areas can now be used to calculate the data. So let's use again the customers, and let's go here on the calculation side and say, okay, I want to know how many customers are inside these areas. And I want to know their value. So I want to sum the individual value of these customers. And this is something that we are doing on the browser. So I'm from the time to do this, I would need a desktop GIS to do this type of operation. So now the power, it's really at the tip of your hand. So it's done. I'll just close for you all to see the results. So when I press a location, this data was calculated right now on the fly. And now I can even do, for example, a thematic map, one click. I don't understand nothing about cryptography or maps or class definition, but the natural flow of, okay, I want a map and I know what I want. So I want a map with customers, drag, drop, create. So you don't see the class division type. No, you can change, but it's very fluent. It's very fluid to use. One click, 2 clicks, let's do a map with value. Here you can change the colors, you can change the values, but typically 2-3 clicks allows you to see this information. And now you can even play with the opacity and to understand, do I have more value where I have more customers or the other way around? And the punchline sometimes is, okay, but it seems simple, but it may be complex on a day-to-day life for a marketeer, for example, or expansion manager. Someone on the GIS team can do this work, can hit save, expansion plan 2. I could write here a description and I can send this to someone or to a department. So by doing this, I'm sending this analysis to someone else. And the only thing he needs to do to use the analysis is just, let's pretend it's tomorrow, I receive this email, I just drag and drop, and I see the results calculated.
Yeah.
And it's not a dashboard.
Something that's very appealing is like allowing the GIS professional to focus on the data and empowering the organization rather than being that sort of, I guess, map jockey where someone from the organization says, can you produce me this map? And you're just, basically producing I don't know, a screenshot or something that's going to go into a PowerPoint, right? Where really what you can do with this is the user can be a marketeer, could be business analyst, a salesperson, someone that's not really a GIS person, but they're understanding they've got a location-based problem that we're helping them solve by using location technology, really doing some quite complex things, but they're not even realizing that it's actually behind that there's some complex stuff happening. Exactly.
That's the whole point. It's because the GIS department, the GIS people had a lot on their hands. So more data, more sources of data, and the data doesn't magically appears on the map. It doesn't magically appears on the layer. So it needs to be structured. It needs to be validated, the quality, so it then can be used with this simplicity. I'll give another example. So things that are are already saved here. This case for New Zealand, an example for New Zealand. We just downloaded the police stations and the fire stations from the open data from New Zealand, from the government, the Wellington area. And we calculated the areas within that have fire stations or police stations within 1 kilometer. And again, this is something that can be consumed like this. It's done for someone, you share and see the results and can work on top of the information. Everything that you see here, and I think this is important also to follow that simplicity that the cloud brings, is that it's very easy to use. So let me just put, for example, again, the site areas, and let's filter and say, okay, we want to select only the areas where the technology is 4G. So I press apply, I see the results on the map. Now I want to select only the customers that are inside these areas. And the process is very, again, the word for me is fluid, in Portuguese, fluid. Why? Because you don't have hundreds of functions and buttons. You have these 5 functionalities, but probably will solve like 80 to 90% of the day-to-day spatial problems. So filter, I want the customers that are within, and then here is where the power resides. So I can say, okay, but I want only the ones with a certain price plan. And if I put this on top, and I'm wasting a little bit time here to give this detail because it's just not and. If you put something on top, it's like putting a parenthesis on the expression. So you can create very complex filtering just by dragging and dropping. And this is what makes usable and reusable. They can depend on these to take decisions. These examples that we are doing here are being done by Domino's, by Vodafone, by BP, some Novartis, pharma companies. It's different. It's something. Let's switch to Sydney and say, okay, we need to understand the sales performance of our products so we can see the evolution of the products. But for example, I just want to see your product. One click, I want to change this chart. I just want to see product A, and product A is this color. It's done. So it's easy to change. Yeah. It's not a static dashboard, or to compare this territory with this one, for example, and understand the evolution. Again, the focus is getting the technology out of the way and let the data speak for itself.
Yeah. So we have had a question come through, Miguel, while you've been presenting. What spatial data sources can Mapidea and GIS connect to?
Well, we are very data friendly. So we can connect directly to databases, to Oracle, to Postgres, to MySQL, to Microsoft SQL Server, or you can ingest files from MapInfo, shapefiles, GeoJSON, CSV, Excel files. You can simply drag and drop to the application. The idea is to be, if you have some desktop data that you want to mix with the corporate data, just drag and drop and do it like we were doing here. Yeah,
fantastic. Sorry to interrupt you, Miguel.
No. I think looking at the time.
Yeah, we're just looking at the time. Probably coming up. So just pop through any other questions, everyone. While we're here, is there anything else that you wanted to show there, Miguel? I can see that you're using Bing Maps as a background there. Looks like we've had an. Oh, okay, yeah. So maybe that's good to show some of those. Okay.
Yeah, this is, we can, and there's a question coming here. I'll be answering live about data service REST, WFS, WMS. So the base maps work as a canvas. So you can have your own base maps. You can even have your own WMS and put it on the background, or you can use Google, Bing here, Mapbox. You can use the
OpenStreetMaps, right? OSM.
OSM, exactly. So OSM is here also. And so let's say, for example, it's with the statistical, they work as a canvas for the vector data.
I know one of the things as well that you'd done, Miguel, is you'd integrated like what 3 words as well in the platform to search for locations, right? It was a really interesting, actually, sort of topical thing. I saw a post today about what 3 words and how it was actually being used during the evacuations in Afghanistan, which was a really sort of very topical thing, right? But I know that's one of the I guess location geocoding integrations that you've done as well.
Yes, I'm not sure. Let me see if I get one. Of course, live it will not work. It's integrated, but it's not here. So you just write the 3 words here, and a dot appears on the map. A dot appears on the map, like if you search for an address. This is very important, especially not only for critical situations like Afghanistan, but also for deliveries. The online business skyrocket with the pandemic, and it's sometimes not easy to find the addresses. And with what 3 words is a help to be faster and accurate to the locations.
So if people have their own, you know, satellite imagery or aerial imagery that's in a WMS, WMTS, they can connect that as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even for the ones that miss the old school days, you can have a blank map and you can put your data to just to focus on the data, not on the canvas. But obviously, it helps a lot to have the context of the imagery.
Yeah, and I think that those questions around, you know, WMS and that just sort of shows how more and more people are using online services now, right, inside their business and relying on those more and more, either as a consumer or they're publishing those services themselves as well, using the different, you know, web tiling platforms that are out there.
Yeah, and there's I was preparing for some examples. There's a huge quantity of data now available. For example, I was on the city of Melbourne, the open data. I was seeing, for example, the postcodes. It's as simple as going here, export this information for any format. In this case, let's export the GeoJSON. And now let's just simply drag and drop these to Mapidea. So they are here. So drag, drop, create, and immediately it turns into a layer that you can use with your own data. So, and that's the value. The value is multiplying the data. So this was 1 second ago on the open data from Melbourne, and now I can simply, with 3 or 4 clicks, calculate how many QSR restaurants are and how many customers do we have in each postcode. So it's the power of having this in 2 minutes. I'm a suspect, obviously, but I think it solves a lot of problems.
Agree. So I had, Miguel, I'm just conscious of time. So we've had a few questions come in. We've sort of answered those on the fly. One of the things that we're doing, I might just take control again and just share our contact details and stuff, Miguel.
Sure.
Let me take control again. Thanks for that, Miguel. And I mean, that's just that power of a platform that you can spin up really quickly. It's very accessible. Anyone can access it from a browser. You don't have to, you can have users that are non-technical users that can start to do powerful spatial analytics without, you know, really need to know the complexity behind it. Just in the, you know, we're coming up sort of on time. We wanted to try and keep this to, you know, everyone's very busy. One of the things I think we're going to be doing, following on from the webinar, there is the ability to actually sign up for a trial, and that's a very simple process, right? And they Mapidea and Spatial Distillery will spin up an instance for you. So if you want to try out a different cloud-based location analytics platform, contact us. We'll send out some more information around that, how you can sign up for that. We'll also be sending out a link to the recording and these slides. We appreciate everyone's time. I know some people are in the office, a lot of people are at home at the moment. So we really appreciate everyone taking their time out this morning in Australia to join us. So with that, we might wrap it up, Miguel. And
yeah, sure.
I'd like to see, tell everyone, keep safe, keep well, and we look forward to having people on future webinars.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. See you all soon.
Hey, great. Thanks, Miguel. Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Cheers. Bye-bye.